Welcome to InCabin from the creators of AutoSense. InCabin connects the global community of automotive interior specialists working on in-cabin safety, comfort, and productivity solutions through industry-leading events and knowledge sharing. We are pleased to welcome back today Javier Salado, product manager at Anyverse. And Javier, good to see you again. Welcome back, my friend.
Hi, Carl. Very good to see you too, and ready for all your questions, and very excited to be part of InCabin this year in Detroit.
Let's start with one of the biggest questions just right out of the gate. Tell us about Anyverse. The work you do today is very important, so give us an overview of what you're doing in automotive right now.
Sure, of course. Anyverse, for those of you who have been following AutoSense or the InCabin events in Brussels or in Detroit these past couple of years, you've heard about us. We are a data company, and a data company that basically develops technology to generate the data that autonomous vehicles, perception systems need to really improve the performance of the perception that they do for different use cases, for outside the car, to detect pedestrians, cyclists, any other thing that is relevant for those ADAS systems or autonomous vehicles capabilities to act on whatever they detect, whenever they detect this objects of interest. And we can generate data for that. But lately, in the last couple of years, there is a lot of traction in the in-cabin. In-cabin monitoring, our systems that are starting to be mandatory in the EU, and the OEMs and tier ones have a fierce race to get there in time to provide the best capabilities for detecting drowsiness of the drivers, strange behaviors on driver and occupants alike, and many other possible things that can happen inside the car that could jeopardize the safety of the overall vehicle. So Anyverse has been developing technology to generate the right data to improve the performance of those systems that are in charge of the safety. So in the last years, in-cabin for in-cabin, we have developed specific technology to generate relevant data, whereas it's static data or it's sequences of behaviors of people inside the car. For the drowsiness, for example, we can detect the eyes blinking. More than detect, we can create data with different types of blinking behaviors and drowsiness behavior to train and validate systems that are looking for the drowsiness of the driver. And we have a specific technology to generate data that can validate those perception systems, not only training them to improve their performance. So that's what Anyverse is all about, generating data for all kinds of scenarios, and in particular for in-cabin, improve the performance of the safety systems that follow the behavior of drivers and occupants. Maybe too long, I think.
No, I like it, Javier. This is very good because it allows us to get a good background of Anyverse. It allows us to see your skills and your expertise. We're talking about data, and you might already know where I'm going with this next question, but what is the impact of data then when it comes to these in-cabin monitoring systems and we have to fine-tune the performance? What is the impact of data when it comes to fine-tuning an in-cabin monitoring system?
It's a great question, and there is a simple answer to this. Data is what drives the development of perception systems today. The models that are behind this perception system, these deep learning models, AI models that are behind these perception systems are more or less commoditized. You can get a model, what they call foundational models, from the internet. They're for free, and you can start using them immediately. But to actually make them really useful for the purpose that you need, and again, I can say drowsiness of the driver, you need specific data to train those models to detect those specific behaviors. So data is key. Without the data, those models don't really work the way you need them to. They will work for general purpose, but they won't work for the specific purpose that you need them for. And data can come into different flavors today. You can get real data and train your models on that to make them perform to the levels that you need. And then there is synthetic data. Now, there is a bit of a fight between like real data, synthetic data. They both are valuable and they both are needed to train your model. The problem is that when you use only real data, you will reach some levels of performance based on the amount of data that you can really get and with the variability that you need to reach the levels of performance that you need. And typically the variability that you can get in InCabin for InCabin monitoring systems is very limited. The amount of drivers that you can actually record on different types of cars. There are privacy issues when it comes to using that real data of headshots of real people doing things inside the cabin. So the levels of performance that you can get only with real data in InCabin, you basically will reach them very fast, and trying to improve the performance, acquiring new real data, it's going to be very costly and very time consuming. And here is where synthetic data comes in very handy for InCabin. And that's why Anyverse technology, it's very valuable for those developing InCabin perception systems. It allows you to increase the performance of your perception system very rapidly, because we can generate the data that you need the way you need it. And we can have as much variability as is needed to reach those levels of performance that your system needs. So that's why data is key. And in particular, synthetic data can help you to very quickly fine-tune those models to reach the levels of performance that you need.
I want to stay with that train of thought because you said being able to get the data, not only just any data, but the data that your customers actually need. So I want to keep with that thought. Everything we're discussing, what is Anyverse's approach to this topic of fine-tuning an in-cabin monitoring system? Let's go just a little bit deeper into that, Javier.
Sure. Anyverse's approach is to provide technology that makes it easy for the customers to design, define, program variability of the data that they actually need. And we have the Anyverse platform that allows you with a simple Python API program exactly the data that you need. You need variability in gender of the drivers and passengers inside the cabin. You can do that. And not only you can do that because we have an API, you can do that because we have huge variability of different 3D characters that we use in this data. So you can have that variability that you need in terms of characters, gender, race, age, etc., etc. But not only that, then you need different lighting conditions inside the car. You need to place the cameras in different positions depending on the use case of the perception system that you're developing. And you need to do this in a very easy way and generate data from different perspectives inside the cabin. you need to simulate the sensors. And in particular, when it's very low light, and in cabin, it's typically low light always at night, and sometimes during daylight as well. You need to overcome this challenge of the low light using near infrared sensors. And Anyverse offers technology to very faithfully and physically simulate near infrared for those cases. And it's very easy to exchange and generate data for near infrared, RGB cameras, even for time of flight that are sometimes used inside the cabin as well for some perception systems that need the depth to the camera of the objects of interest that they're looking at. So as you can see, our approach is very broad, but the final goal of everything that I just said is to something that you said before: generate the right data for the right problem at a fraction of the cost and a fraction of the time, so you can very rapidly reach the levels of performance that you need in the perception system.
Javier, we have probably been talking about this in bits and pieces here, but allow me to ask the question maybe a little more directly. What are some of the trends that you're seeing right now when it comes to this in-cabin space?
There is a general trend that I think that affects all aspects of technology nowadays, which is generative AI. And when we talk about data, and data for in-cabin in particular, generative AI is starting to be a player somehow. The same way that we generate data procedurally using our technology and simulating sensors and whatnot, there are outlets out there that are starting to generate the data using generative AI. Now, we are exploring this and try to see what's going to be the impact for Anyverse. And I think those generative AI technologies that can generate images are still far away to what we can actually do, because first of all, it's not completely reliable, the images that they can generate in terms of reality, and then they don't generate, at least yet, the ground truth that is required for testing, validating, and training perception systems. However, generative AI can be used not only to generate images, which today I think they will be very far from what is required by customers today, if they want to use generated images to train, validate, or test the perception systems. But there is another way of using generative AI to, for example, generate your data set by describing what you need, and then trigger our technology to generate what you just described. And this is something that we are actually actively working on at Anyverse, to incorporate all this new technology to make even faster the development of data sets that you need by just describing what you need.
Javier, it's always a pleasure to have you as part of our in-cabin events and our AutoSense events as well. You're such a great spokesperson for Anyverse. I really enjoy any chance I get to interview you, my friend. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you very much, Carl, for your kind words. And I'll be seeing you in Detroit. And for those of you attending the InCabin conference in Detroit, remember, I will be having a talk there. Just look at the agenda and look me up.
Javier Salado, product manager at Anyverse. For more information on Anyverse and to find out more about our upcoming events, see the links in the description. You can also visit InCabin.com. That's InCabin.com. And for more in-depth interviews like this, subscribe to this YouTube channel and follow InCabin on LinkedIn. In Detroit, on behalf of InCabin, I'm Carl Anthony.